And now you're live, so go right ahead.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the Ahsoka.
Oh, sorry.
Always a smooth entry into the Star Wars universe here on JLJ Media. Welcome, everybody, to the Ahsoka Aftershow right here on JLJ Media, your home for everything that's happening a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. We are three of your four hosts, our lovely and talented lead host and executive producer and creator of JLJ Media, James Lott Jr. He's dealing with some vocal issues. So like Larry Hagman, he is taking a vocal rest day. It is that I will be leading this merry band of folks as we break down throughout this whole season of Ahsoka. James will be joining us as soon as his voice is better, hopefully next week. But in the meantime, we'll break down the first two episodes here. And of course, it is not me just talking to you folks. We've got two incredible people. First off, Kim McAndrew back again. Welcome back, Kim.
Hi, it's good to be back.
It's great to have you. And then, last but certainly not least, man, I've been dreaming about for months, and then I get to see him, and it's even better than I could possibly even think. John Dunphy, looking stylish.
Thank you so much. Wore this just for you tonight. I'm so happy that we're here. We're doing this. That this has finally come. It's great to see you guys. Obviously, would love if James was feeling better, but you know, the fact that we're here and we're going to be talking about the show over the next several weeks is so exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's we'll see. We'll see. But as always, folks, we've got the live chat running on YouTube, so feel free to hop in. We've also got the super chat enabled. So if you are so kind and thinking that we were saying great stuff, or like you want to help John get more hats, just feel free to use the super chat. But in the meantime, we'll be breaking down episodes 1 and 2 as Disney decided to give us a double dose of Ahsoka goodness for its premiere. So we have episode 1, Master and Apprentice, and episode 2, Toil and Trouble. Yes. So before we dive into each episode, Kim, I'll start with you. What did you think overall?
Overall, I really liked it. Ahsoka is really going to be my Super Bowl for Star Wars, because in a million years, I never thought we would get to a point where she would get her own series. And I'm so happy that she has her own series at last. And I really like Rosario Dawson's, interpretation of the character. And I'm just happy that it's happening. I mean, every time I drive by, there's a billboard with her with the two lightsabers out, and I'm just like, I just get goosebumps every time. I'm just so excited about it.
Awesome. Now, Kim, I'm going to ask you, as you compared it to the Super Bowl, who's going to be the halftime entertainment here for the Ahsoka show?
I don't know. Maybe a flashback with Hayden Christensen would be a good halftime show.
All right. Or maybe we're getting like the mobile nodes and get them out of
yeah.
Get them to play a little something for us.
We could. That would be good. Or if they want to bring Grogu in, I'm always okay with that.
Oh, just I can only imagine him.
His sweet little face.
I would like it that if he never speaks, but he can sing, and he felt like just some like really great, some kind of power ballad or something. But
that would be very, very cool. I think he sings more like a Mogwai, though. I think he sings, kind of like a Mogwai. He has that little sweet song.
John Dunphy, you who has raved up and down about how great Rebels is, and has made your love clear for Ahsoka Tano.
Yes.
What's it like now to see this character brought into her own series?
Yeah, I'm thrilled that she's getting her own series. She certainly deserves it. I mean, obviously before showing up in The Mandalorian, she was always an animated character and all that. But like her impact on the Star Wars saga, just this whole galaxy, is cannot be disputed. So it's like to see her first come into live action in The Mandalorian and then now get her own show. And as you mentioned, I'm such a huge Star Wars Rebels fan. I think it's some of the best Star Wars that we've ever gotten. So if anybody out there still hasn't watched it, you definitely should. I can't recommend it enough, especially with what we're getting now. But I'm just absolutely thrilled. Been waiting for this show for so long, and I was blown away. So many times throughout the first 2 episodes, sitting there watching, I just out loud screamed to nobody else that was in the room. No one else was in the room with me, but just out loud screaming, I can't believe this is happening. So
Yeah.
I'm sure your neighbors weren't concerned at all.
You're right.
For me, John, I think that kind of goes up to your point there. It's I have not watched Star Wars Rebels yet, except for the first 4 episodes. I started just this week, so really made sure I timed it out perfectly for Ahsoka. So just easing right into this. But for me, somebody who has not watched it, like I feel like this is a series that is enriched by anybody that has watched Rebels. And I feel like if you are not a Rebels watcher, there's you're kind of like, yeah, all right, I understand there's relationships here, but I don't quite understand the depth of everything that I feel like Dave Filoni wants me to get from these character interactions, because I don't have that Rebels knowledge.
Yeah. I think it's still a show that you can definitely like get into and enjoy even without seeing it, but there definitely is a benefit to people that have watched it. And at this point, I've watched that series start to finish like 4 times, because I just love it so much. And it starts, obviously it's animated, it's more geared towards kids for sure, but like it starts off pretty light in the beginning. You might think it's a slow start. You might not love it at first, but it gets so dark at times that you're like, I can't believe this is a kid's show. Like when you think about like, Cam, I'm sure, episodes like Twilight of the Apprentice and, some of those huge, crazy moments that we get. I mean, it's some of the best Star Wars, I'm telling you. And hearing the music in Ahsoka, you can get those themes from, of music from the Clone Wars and from Rebels and then just overall Star Wars. Like it was so beautiful. And seeing some of these other, Rebels characters like Hera and Sabine and Chopper, in live action. Chopper is one of my favorite droids in all of Star Wars. So this is it's been such a treat over these first 2 episodes. And I'm so glad we get 6 more. I wish we were getting 60 more, but
well, who knows? Who knows what the future holds for Ahsoka?
Yeah.
For me, it was, I enjoyed it, but I like seeing the translation with only watching 3 episodes or 4 episodes of Rebels, just having a rudimentary knowledge of the characters, thinking like, is that how I would imagine them being translated in live action? I don't know, but I'm only making that judgment based on the first 4 episodes of the series and not the whole thing as a total, to realize that where they are in Ahsoka could be certainly different than where they are currently in my watching of Rebels.
For sure.
Did you watch the Clone Wars? Was that something that you watched also? Because I
did watch the Clone Wars. I just never got into Rebels.
Okay.
I don't know why. It was one of those where it just came in and I just was busy with other stuff and just never got around to it.
My love affair, honestly, with Rebels really started kind of like an accident, to be honest, because I loved Star Wars, but I was very late to the party on Clone Wars. And it was really during like COVID that I just absolutely binged the hell out of Clone Wars, loved it. And it was around the time that the 7th season was coming out, that final season. And when it was over, I was just like, God, I just won something else. I need something else. And I went on to Disney Plus. I saw Rebels there and I was like, let me check this out. Let me see, and I watched the first few episodes, wasn't immediately falling in love with it, but I stuck with it. And I could not be happier because now I could watch. I go to Rebels and I just pick random episodes sometimes and just watch it. Like that's how much I love this show.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, young Ezra can be a little much, can be a little annoying, but but he definitely has a full arc and just kind of stick with it and he gets better. So, but at first you're just he's kind of an annoying little kid, but later on, he starts to develop as a character more.
100%. I
You have a
totally agree
lot
with
more
that.
to like. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, considering how they talk about him and where he ended up, or however the circumstances played out to lead him to be sacrificing himself, he certainly does make me interested to finish watching it just to see how his character evolved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's a reason why when people were speculating, who is the Jedi that Mando is going to bring Grogu to, a lot of people were hoping for Ezra to show up. And there's a reason for that, because he really does, like Kim said, such a fantastic arc. His relationship with his master, Kanan Jarrus, the way that their relationship forms and builds over the seasons is beautiful to watch. Really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah. Kudos to Freddie Prinze Jr. for his voiceover.
Yeah.
I mean, he just nailed it. So I was just blown away. He really made me love that character so very, very much.
Cool. And John, like what you were saying, like it starts off as like a kid show, and then kind of grows from there. And I think like most of the kids stuff that I've enjoyed is the kind of stuff that grows with its audience. So like whether it's Potter or Rebels, something that kind of gets more sophisticated as the stories progress, kind of to match the audience as they're growing up as well too.
Yeah, 100%.
It's very Harry Potter in that it starts as very Wizard of Oz, but then it gets darker as the kids get older.
Wait, is there a tornado? Is that what you're saying?
There's a twister.
Now, please correct me, because my knowledge is only a little of the Rebels, but in terms of Ahsoka and Sabine, the whole master and apprentice relationship between them, is that something that was shown on Rebels, or is that something that happened between Rebels and Ahsoka?
So we didn't see any of this training between Ahsoka and Sabine. We did see a little bit of Kanan in Rebels training Sabine to use the Darksaber at one point. But as far, really the way Rebels kind of, ends, we see that Ahsoka and Sabine are together, but we didn't really learn what they were doing. Were they training? And I was surprised at times, even, Ahsoka, kind of referencing like, yeah, you should have been a great Jedi, because there was never really any indication that Sabine was really like force sensitive. So if she was training Sabine, I always thought maybe it was similar to the Kanan role of like, I'll teach you how to use a lightsaber and how to fight like that. But they seem to be implying that she could be force sensitive and be able to actually become a Jedi, but we haven't really seen any of that training.
Cool. Because Kim, how do you feel how the timeline syncs up there? Because we've got, as they refer to in the episode, with Clancy Brown as the governor doing his big speech years ago. It's all kind of nebulous. When Ezra did a big sacrifice at the end of Rebels, to when we see Ahsoka in The Mandalorian, to when we have it here now, and it's somewhere in some time this training with Sabine happened. How do you feel in terms of the Star Wars timeline? This all kind of gels.
I was curious to see what happened and why Sabine wasn't in the Mandalorian episode with Ahsoka. And I was like, what happened there? They were supposed to be off together trying to find Ezra. So what happened? And so I was very curious to see what had gone on. And I really didn't surprise me too much when she said, oh, I was, training her, but we just did not get along. And I'm like, oh, she's a Mandalorian. She's got to be like one of the worst candidates for Jedi training you can imagine. Not in ability, but just in attitude. So I was like, okay, so we'll probably have more than a couple of flashbacks of the training and how bad it went. And hopefully it'll go better this time.
John, for you, because it seems like we're hitting a reoccurring issue with Ahsoka. She had an opportunity to train Grogu and was like, no, I'm not going to do that. She's been with, she trained Sabine at least for a little bit, but ultimately walked away.
Mhm.
from that. And she tries to rationalize to Hera. It's like, even though it was for the right reason, it still had unintended consequences. But what do you think's going on with Ahsoka? Is it just her relationship that she had with Anakin that is making her reluctant to be any sort of master to anybody?
Yeah, and because I was thinking. So what I was reading online is that it seems like what's happening in this season of Ahsoka is kind of going on concurrently with what was happening in season 3 of The Mandalorian. So, I'm wondering if whatever happened between Ahsoka and Sabine, I think that a lot of the issues stem from Anakin and how she left him behind and left the Jedi Order behind, and probably hesitating, like, am I really a Jedi? Can I really train anybody? It seems like she tried with Sabine. It really didn't go well. So whatever happened there may have been the reason why she decided, I can't be the one to train Grogu. I've already tried to do this with another student. Didn't go well. And now, maybe only because it is Sabine, is the reason that Ahsoka's even considering it at all. You know what I mean? Because but what she said, during these episodes to Hera was that, I walked away from my training. My training was never complete. I've already failed with Sabine. I turned another student down. I feel like it all stems back to Anakin, but I don't know.
Let's be honest, John. Like, how close do you think she was from finishing her training? She seemed close. I mean,
yeah.
I'm thinking like 90, somewhere in the 90 to 95%. So, I mean, it's like, to walk away, it's like, well, then you clearly aren't a Jedi. Like, come on. Like, would you say she's not a Jedi?
Well, I think I think that she is incredibly powerful and is talented enough, has the skills to be a Jedi. I just don't know if she considers herself really like a Jedi because she walked away from the Order. Like that whole thing in Clone Wars, right? When she was accused of bombing the Jedi Temple and everybody turned their back on her. So she left, and I think that she has doubts about herself of whether she even wanted to be a Jedi at times. I think it all kind of is confusion on her part, just working out the like, who am I? Am I a Jedi? Am I not a Jedi? Should I really be training new students to be Jedi? Like, I think there's a lot of conflict within her just because of the past that she's had.
But how about you? How do you see Ahsoka?
Oh, I think she's a badass Jedi.
Yeah.
You agree, Kim?
Yeah, absolutely. I think she's a Jedi. She's very reluctant. She won't, say that she is, but maybe not on paper, but she definitely is. And I see what she's going through, in that she's trying so hard to not have attachments to people and do the Jedi way, that way, not have the attachments like she had to Anakin, because she kind of thinks maybe it was a little bit her fault because she was attached. And so she keeps everybody, arm's length away. So in that regard, she follows the Jedi teachings, but, they did her dirty. So she's definitely not, Team Jedi for sure. But she can't, deny the skills that she has and the talent that she has.
Yeah.
Does this, I'll ask both of you, does where Ahsoka is in this series seem consistent with the way that she was portrayed towards the end of Rebels? Or does it seem like she's a little bit more like closed off, at least, in terms of, with people and stuff? Because it seems like, at least stuff that I was reading, it just feels like the voice actor for the series just brought like a spark to Ahsoka that some people feel like is not necessarily in this performance, even though it's a different actor, of course, playing Ahsoka. But
right.
Does the character track for you from Rebels to now, or does she seem kind of off?
I don't think she seems off. At first it was, they said, oh, who are we going to cast for, live action Ahsoka? And Ashley Eckstein is an actor. So I was like, duh, you got her right here. She could do this. And they cast Rosario, and I was like, okay. I'm like, that's interesting. I wonder why they're they're switching because, Ashley Eckstein's not, she's a lot younger than me. I think she's in her 30s still. So she could play the part, but for some reason they cast Rosario Dawson into it. And I wasn't too sure about it until I saw the episode of The Mandalorian and she showed up and I was like, okay, she's done her homework. She's got this. She knows who this person is and what they've been through. And I think in a way, Ashley's voice is a little bit, higher pitched and more childlike, and Rosario's isn't. And that helps you understand hearing, Rosario give the lines and do the fights and be the live action Ahsoka, lets you see the experiences, the hard experiences that the character's been through so far, which is a lot.
Yeah.
John, how do you feel?
I agree with Kim. I do. I think it tracks. I do think at the end of Rebels, she's a lot more hopeful and probably has a little bit more of an optimistic outlook. But I believe this is about 10 years after the events of Rebels, where we're picking up from now. And clearly things haven't been going great. They still haven't found Ezra. Clearly she's had a big falling out with Sabine, and Sabine even questioning her in these episodes, being like, are you living here on this ship still? And she goes, gets me where I need to be. Like, she's clearly spending a lot of time alone, probably stewing on her failures. And maybe that's why now, like, we see her being a little more closed off and like down on herself, because to think about where she was when she started with Sabine to now, like, she's probably I could see why there would be a shift in her sort of her mood. And I feel like I'm excited to see though what happened, like what actually did happen in that gap from Rebels to now, and how we really got here. But I think it makes sense to me,
All right. And more importantly, where's Darth Maul? That's all I want. So.
Well, yeah, this is true.
I thought
Where's
we
Maul?
actually had a moment that really reminded me of Darth Maul in one of these episodes when Shin showed up on Lothal to look for Sabine, and had that little probe droid there just looking off into the distance. I was like, this is Darth Maul on Tatooine in the Phantom Menace. Looking like that was very funny.
She sadly didn't have that cool little bike that Darth Maul had to cruise in style. So let's transition. We'll get into the episode specifically. We've got episode 1, Master and Apprentice, and it starts off with, which is going to be the big thrust of this series. It's the threat of Thrawn. He's somewhere, and we need to figure out where he is and how can we prevent him from coming back. Because if you've watched Mandalorian season 3, people are anxious. Is it something that's going to be going on? As much as we would love to see Thrawn, I'm sure people at the New Republic would not want to see him come back.
Definitely not.
So, we've got Ahsoka on the search for a map, and she heads to this planet, does a nice little Indiana Jones kind of riff where she does a little treasure seeking, and finds this map, and then gets met with some unexpected invaders. So right away we're getting into the action. John, how did you feel about seeing Ahsoka just going up 5 against 1 right out of the gate?
Yeah, she was showing off what a badass she really is. I thought, I thought the action looked really good too. Like obviously they did some nice camera work to hide certain things, but like the jumps that she was doing looked good to me, like things like that, all the movements. And these droids were badass too. These HK droids, right? These assassin droids. I thought this was awesome. And I guess this must have been a temple of the Night Sisters. And when we first got here, I was like, what kind of temple is this? And so like getting the Night Sisters, the witches of Dathomir in here too is very cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was telling my son, I said, they're bringing some witchery into Star Wars, and I am here for it. I'm so fucking here for it.
I do like how they depict Ahsoka using her lightsabers to cut in, or her blades to cut into the rock, where she just throws it down, uses the force to kind of whip it around in a circle. It just starts dropping people, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. It was a great way to start things off.
Yeah, the one thing is, I still wonder about the decision to make her blades white, especially in the way some of the scenes where they shoot them, where you've got the nice white sky. It's like it doesn't have quite that same pop, depending on if you're doing like these big daytime scenes, and she's swinging those white blades, against a white sky. You're like, oh, I can't quite. Doesn't quite have that same kind of pop that it does,
Mhm,
Right.
with colored lightsabers.
I
But
hear you. I do
she's
like the
able
way they
to-
look, though.
she gets the map and she's able to take off from the planet, but not before those HK droids, which I don't understand the strategy behind this, but it's, I guess, if they can't get this map from Ahsoka, they're just going to just destroy everything on this planet,
Right.
with some bombs, which I question the strategy. Kim, what is the sense of destroying everything on this, and possibly just vaporizing the very map that you're also looking for?
Yeah, the programming's seems a little off, because it was just sort of like, okay, we're losing the fight, self-destruct. Just hit the button. That's it. We're gonna blow ourselves up now. And it was like, maybe you could try getting away. Maybe you could try doing something else. And they were like, nope. We're just gonna blow ourselves up now. And I was like, wow, okay, that's not very, inventive of you, but you are a droid, so I'll give you that.
But it's not even like, I'd be fine if it was just like a smaller explosion where maybe the next like 30 to 50 feet. This thing went miles, destroying everything in its wake. Where even when they all come down and are checking out the rooms, like, well, she's either got it or it's vaporized. It's like, why would you do such a risky proposition, John?
So this is the way I tried to justify it in my brain. So what seems like, Ahsoka got the location of this map through Morgan Elsbeth, right? So, and Ahsoka said it was right where Morgan said it would be or whatever. So my thought at first was maybe there's a couple of these maps hidden in temples like this. Send the droids in. If things go bad and Ahsoka looks like she's going to escape with this map, just set off the self-destruct, and then maybe even if the map gets destroyed, you'll take out Ahsoka, and we still have this one map hidden somewhere else in a different temple or something like that. That's the way that I kind of tried to play it out in my brain. Like, okay, this map was destroyed, but at least Ahsoka's dead. You know what I mean? Like, and now we can get that other one that's further away, but it's still there. Like something like, I don't know, something like that. They just didn't want to go to the far one, it was an extra day's trip. So like,
the one thing that's interesting for this is kind of that we haven't been having in a while in a Star Wars program is a crawl. Although this version is kind of just like a mediocre crawl. It came to me like a basic cable crawl on Star Wars programming. John, did you enjoy having the crawl back, and did you mind seeing it in the kind of such a kind of just lackluster kind of basic cable way?
I did like the crawl, and I didn't mind that it wasn't the usual crawl that we get at the beginning of like a trilogy or like the movies and the trilogies, but I thought it was good how they did it. Like, I guess I could see your point. Like, that's a little lackluster, but seeing that red text up there scrolling and seeing those names was awesome to me. And just having that crawl at all kind of made me feel like, okay, this isn't a movie, but it feels like we're getting set up for the movie that we're going to be getting, right? Like when everything kind of crosses over, and it was kind of like, you don't get a real crawl for this one, but the movie's coming. So just to kind of remind you that it's coming, here's a little bit of a different crawl.
Exactly.
Well, would the two of you consider the crawl that we get in all the Star Wars films, the style for the Skywalker adventures, so that any other stories that take place in there, whether it be movie or television, if they're going to do a crawl, it could be a different style, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think it should be, actually.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
Well, you're wrong, but
yeah, it reminded me of the crawl in Rogue One. So
Yeah.
So yeah, it was like that. So I was like, okay, it should be a little different, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I
we
gotta say,
also
it really got me in just the music with that crawl too, like the music they were playing, that it got me so amped up and ready to go. Maybe that's why I didn't mind the crawl either, was because I was just getting so into it with everything, the music. I love that red writing too, because I feel like they first did that like at the end of the Clone Wars, where like the logo switched from like that yellow color to the red color, and it just there's something that does to me. It just inside, it's just
Oh, and as always with the good crawl, it always kind of it does a nice transition from the crawl to some ship doing something in space, and this is no exception. And we come in and see Morgan Elsbeth being transported to New Republic kind of jail facilities before a couple before a ship shows up with an old Jedi code. John, did you put yourself in the seat of the captain? Would you have made that same choice? Would you have called the bluff and let them come on board and check it out? Or would you be like, no thanks, guys, we're just gonna keep going?
I don't know if I would have taken the chance. I mean, I guess I have the benefit of now knowing what happened. But if you're gonna let them on, maybe don't be the one that goes down yourself. Actually, did you see who this captain was, by the way? He looked so familiar to me. I'm just a big fan of this movie, so that's why. Mark Ralston, who was in The Shawshank Redemption, played this. He was one of the sisters that gave Andy a hard time. Boggs, like the lead, of that.
Oh my God! Okay.
Yeah, and that he got the crap beat out of him by the captain in the jail, who is Clancy Brown, who plays Ryder Azadi in Rebels and now Ahsoka. So they're both in Shawshank.
Oh my God! Okay.
Well, he does go down to check it out, and the ship comes out, and I mean, there's always with a nice steam. You always enjoy a good, gangplank lowering and then steam coming out in the Star Wars universe. But what did you think of your first look at our two? I guess Siths, we would call them, for lack of a better word. What'd you think, Kim?
Oh, I mean, I was, hot and bothered by Ray Stevenson for sure, but I've always been hot and bothered by Ray Stevenson. And I love the Debbie Harry look on the other one. She's got a whole punk thing going on, and I'm digging it right now.
I'm really digging Ray Stevenson in this. And it is a shame that he unfortunately passed away, because who knows, I don't know where his story leads in Ahsoka, but it's definitely a character that I am intrigued by, and I'm excited to see where he's going to be going in the rest of the story. I mean, so much that I'd be like, hey, let's keep him around for a little bit, even though, I know such things, when it gets to the Jedi and timelines and who's around and who's not, can always get kind of sticky, but there's always some way to keep some people around. Whether you're Jedis or Siths, as long as you're wielding Force, there's always nooks and crannies we can tuck you away in the Star Wars universe, so that you can be used in other properties. But John, did you enjoy Baylan?
Oh, hell yeah. Ray Stevenson, absolutely incredible. And this new actor, I think her name is Ivana something, that's playing Shin. I think they're awesome. Their arrival on this ship, by the way, kind of reminded me of like the evil version of Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan boarding the Trade Federation ship at the beginning of Phantom Menace. I was like, we got the little evil, scary version of that.
Oh my God, it did. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that I can't wait to watch, how they play out in this season. It's such a shame, what happened to Ray Stevenson, because he's fantastic. But I'm glad that we get to watch his work in this season, though.
It is interesting with his character as opposed to stuff I saw, whether it's in Obi-Wan Kenobi, or any other time we've seen other Sith ones where they're just, kind of, I don't want to say one note, but it's like, there's no mistaking that they're evil. Where it still seems like, Ray Stevenson, yes, he's certainly doing this for the money, but he's also got power, but it's also like there's so few Jedi left in the galaxy. It'd be a shame to have to kill more of them. So there does seem to be some kind of duality within him that I find intriguing. How about you, Kim?
Yeah, I caught that at the end of the second episode. I was like, okay, so he's not all about the evil. He's got some problems with just, wiping out Jedi just because reasons. He doesn't want to do that. And I'm wondering if there'll be a turning back to the light for him, maybe. He does seem to be kind of on a fence.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think the same for Shin too. Obviously she wasn't around, during the Clone Wars, but there was a particular conversation that they had where Shin asked Balin, what happens when we find Thrawn? And he said, for some war, for others a new beginning. And she says, well, what about for us? And that's when he went on this whole thing about power. But I sensed like a little bit of like conflict in her. Like, are we really doing the right thing here? Like, that's kind of like what I got from her. So I could see either one of them or possibly both of them potentially being like, what, screw this. Like, Thrawn's not worth all this. Let's go help out Ahsoka. Like, so.
It's it'll be curious to see how Thrawn approaches stuff once they come back. Is he all about like, hey, yeah, let's get rid of these Jedi? They're no good. Let's keep going Order 66 all the way if we can.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder with Thrawn though. I think one of his big shortcomings in Rebels was like his, I don't know if it's unwillingness, but he just was not well versed at anything that relating to the Force. And I think that might have been like his weak spot, because he's such a great strategic and like military mind. He's brilliant, but he would always underestimate the group of rebels because they had Jedi with them. They had people using the Force, and they were always able to somehow like kind of outsmart him. There was only a few times where he really got the best of them, but he would, they would always find a way to come through. And I would wonder if now with him still being around, maybe he decides I need to have some Force users on my side. So I'm covered in that area,
Yeah. I'm definitely intrigued to see how Balin and Shin develop during the course of the series. Ahsoka gets the map. She hangs out with we still see she's with Hu Yang, the Jedi teacher / droid, which voiced by David Tennant, which was cool.
Yeah.
I assume a bigger player in
Mm-hmm.
like it's Clone Wars and Rebels. Or was he in Rebels at all?
I remember seeing him in the Clone Wars. I don't remember seeing him in Rebels actually. Was he? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
But Hu Yang is interesting though. He is apparently 25,000 years old. Is it like an ancient droid? Which was, this has come out like I saw a couple articles because people were asking about who's Hu Yang. How long has he been around? Because he mentions in Ahsoka, like over the centuries, I've seen so many younglings build their lightsabers and blah blah blah. And there was even a point where I laughed because he talks to Sabine, and he was like, yeah, I'm still 75% original parts. And like, so it was just funny to hear him say that. And that was something that I saw, that apparently Hu Yang is mentioned from way back in like ancient times, was built like by the very first Jedi that came into existence.
He's a great resource for sure for all things Jedi, except for how to open a map. That you can't do.
Yeah, that was a little...
He's like, boy, I know all about this stuff, except I don't know how to open this. So his suggestion is like, hey, let's talk to Hera. Oh, hey, let's go find Sabine. Maybe she has a fresh point of view. So we have to go into Lothal. So head up there to where they're doing a big celebration for Ezra and all his fellow rebels for everything they did, commemorating their heroic deeds. But Sabine wants none of that pomp and circumstance. She would rather just kind of just cruise around on her speed bike, looking cool.
Yeah.
Seeing that monument made me got a little choked up when I first saw that monument at the dedication ceremony.
Yeah.
That was a nice little touch to better look in the Rebels. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I was interesting about that roadway is that like it's really long. It's just really, really long.
And we see it a lot in Rebels.
Yeah. And there is just like nothing around it. There's just nothing. You would think that why does it need to be that long? Does it need to be that long?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I mean, it only goes one way and there's nothing built up around it. And it's just like, well,
if you run out of gas around there, you're screwed.
Yeah.
All right. It's like I can't imagine like taking that, like when we see that shot of her, she first crosses off from the end of the runway of the road to just when it gets to just earth and terrain and grass. I can only imagine like you going the opposite direction or walking that. Like, oh, I've made it to civilization. No, I still have to walk so long down this to get to any sort of buildings.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know the wisest architectural layout. I'd like to talk to the city.
We'll have to do like we'll have to like look up online, like, it's like a map of Lothal. See what else. See what's at the end of that thing.
What's going on?
It's like, hey, is there like a little gas station? Last chance to get something for
a little mini mart.
Miles? Yeah.
Stop and get a bottle of blue milk real quick, for your trip.
Yeah. They have, the Cabazon dinosaurs, their equivalent at the end, like right before you go into Space Palm Springs.
But Sabine takes off, and I do like, even the pilot is like, after she plays chicken with one of the other the airships, he's like, all right, respect. I'll let you just keep going down this one-way road. Good luck with all that.
Yeah.
The look they gave each other like made me feel like this is they've done this before. Like that's the feeling I got too, by like the little nods.
But she ends up heading back to Ezra's pad from Rebels, which was cool to see that in live action, kind of recreating all that, get to see all the various helmets that he had collected throughout the years. And then we actually get to see our first peek at Ezra in live action form through a holographic message that he left for Sabine. So Kim, what was it like to see Ezra in live action, even though right now it's just a hologram?
It's just a hologram, but it was really good because I was like, okay, this is just showing, the promise of what this series can deliver, which is going to be, a return of Ezra and just all of these live action versions of the Rebels. And it was just kind of a good sneak peek as to where they're going with the series, and it's a good direction, I think. Yeah.
I completely agree. It was a special moment. I thought that was like one of the my standout moments, I feel like, because I knew and the same thing with Thrawn, like we don't know when we're going to see Ezra or Thrawn, and I didn't know if maybe in these episodes we would have just gotten some mentions of Ezra, just people saying his name. I thought that might be all we got. So to right off the bat here, see, like, actually be able to see Ezra like in the flesh in live action, even if it was just a hologram, like, I don't know, that was cool. That was very cool.
Well, Sabine's not too long alone there before she notices that Ahsoka and her spaceship is heading back to the city looking for her. So she just took that one long trip all the way back to that pad, and then she's got to turn around and take that long trip all the way back into the city. And then she shows up like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm here, Governor. Sorry, I bailed on your big pomp and circumstance meeting there.
Yeah.
But then we get to see like the testiness between, or not the testiness, but like I guess like the coldness between Sabine and Ahsoka. So for two of you who have seen their relationship, their interactions on Rebels, seeing them in this place where they are now, did it catch you by surprise? Were you interested by the status quo change?
I guess I guess I can't say I'm surprised because like Kim I think mentioned before, right? Like Sabine is a Mandalorian. Like she is very strong in what she feels and what she thinks. And so to think and I feel like Ahsoka is probably not in a bad way, but probably a tough teacher and master, and I could see them butting heads. Like that makes sense to me that this could have happened to them. I'm disappointed that it did. I'm excited to see them have to be forced to work together, which also actually makes me wonder if Hu Yang maybe could have opened that damn map. And because he made a comment earlier to Ahsoka saying, I'm a droid, like I'm not here to watch your back. That's the job of a Padawan. And now they have this map. Hera's already saying maybe Sabine can open it. Maybe this is the way for Hera and Hu Yang to secretly force Ahsoka and Sabine, to come back together and work together. Just a thought.
Yeah, I would totally believe that. Yeah.
Well, then, Kim, I'll ask you for this, given Sabine's character in Rebels and her arc through that series, and being a Mandalorian, is that enough for Sabine, or are you intrigued by the idea of Sabine also being a Jedi of sorts?
I'm very curious because at one point, they said, as far as your talent, you fall, short of most Jedi, but you should continue your training. And I'm just curious as to why. So I just feel like there's a piece missing. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe it's just, just her, attitude towards the training. But there just seems to be like a piece missing, and I'm curious as to what that is.
I agree, because John, it feels like they talk a lot around this. All their conversations about it are just kind of go revolve on the outside, and they deliberately write it so it is interrupted before they can really dive in to any of the major points of contention between the two of them. There's always some interruption. So for you, John, I mean, because I feel like, is it a hat on a hat situation where it's like, Mandalorian is just cool in and of itself. Jedi is cool in and of itself. Do you need to have a hat and have a Mandalorian also be a Jedi?
I don't know. See, if it's going to be anybody, I feel like, that would be Sabine. Like Sabine's the one to be, to be that. So maybe, in a lot of other cases, it wouldn't be like you have to be one, both of these things. You can be one or the other. But for Sabine, I feel like she's destined for more. She's an incredible Mandalorian. She's brilliant. She builds weapons. She's an incredible artist. She's a great fighter, even if we didn't really get to see that in the battle she had with Shin. But she clearly hasn't been training much for a while. But if anyone was going to step up, and that's why I've even seen people out there saying that maybe Sabine ends up being the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian. Does she show up at some point? You know what I mean? Like, and does she become the leader of Mandalore? Like I've seen that theory out there because I feel like, and when you see this, a fair amount in Rebels too, like she had to be pushed into even accepting the Darksaber when it eventually came into her hands. She was, very, very, doubting of herself, and but everyone around her, from Kanan training her to use the Darksaber and fellow Mandalorians, everybody saw her as like a leader, even though she never saw it herself.
So she could do what Mando couldn't and actually wield the Darksaber well.
Yeah, she well, not at first, but after some training, she definitely got better.
Come on, suck on that, Mando. And of course, as they interrupted by Hu Yang, who gives Ahsoka some of the breakdown where he's searched through all his records and identified the lightsabers that were used in this, and doesn't recognize Shin's, but does definitely recognize Balin's as somebody that kind of only one person has ever built a lightsaber like this, and he disappeared at the end of the Clone War. So so we get a little, at least, Ahsoka's getting a clue on the bigger picture of all the players that are involved in all this. But before she does that, though, she tells Sabine, like, don't leave with the map. You got to keep the map's got to stay here. Cut to, I don't think anybody's surprised. that she exits back out, and oh wait, the map is gone, and so is Sabine. So what a
Mhm.
crazy
Oh,
part. Yeah. Who takes it back and then does a lot of thinking. She just looks at a lot of imagery, the maps of the surrounding the ruins that it was found in before it was destroyed, and eventually cracks the code. Kim, how did you feel about the solution of solving the map and the information that it contained?
I just feel like maybe she has a connection to the witches that she doesn't know that she has. I think that might be the missing piece. That's why she could figure it out. I don't know. I don't know. I may be just overthinking all of this, but
So she's going to be a Mandalorian, a Jedi, and a witch.
yeah, I mean,
Well-
she could.
That is an interesting point. I hadn't even really thought about that, but I'm wondering because the Night Sisters too, like they use the Force, like that's like
Mhm.
kind of where their magic comes from. And
Yeah.
and we kind of mentioned earlier how, we didn't really see it in Rebels, but if Ahsoka is saying that Sabine could have been a Jedi, maybe she is Force sensitive, and even if it wasn't tapping specifically into the Night Sisters sort of magic, just kind of using the Force to see what she needed to see, maybe so it's interesting, definitely an interesting thought.
Yeah, there was just a suggestion of like this intuition that she just kind of knew how to figure out the puzzle and open the map. And if they asked her, why did you think to do that, she wouldn't be able to say why. Just because I just knew.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, she's not able to bask in her success for very long because a couple of assassin droids show up, want that map, and she's wrestling with one of them while the other one just smashes everything in her room, and then it's like all that merchant, all that great tech just gone.
Yeah,
and then takes off downstairs, but Sabine follows with her lightsaber and runs right into a Shin, to which they have that great battle.
yeah.
Actually, that's a great battle. But what I did enjoy, Kim, and I don't know if you how you felt about it, but you definitely see the difference in styles, where somebody that is an apprentice in training, active training, and is sharp with their skills, compared to Sabine, who trained a little bit, didn't finish it, for whatever reasons we still don't know yet. So can wield it, but not very well.
Right.
So how do you feel about the fight?
Yeah, I feel like I'm glad that some of the fights are uneven. They're not total complete show-stopping banger fights where they're equally skilled and it goes on and on and on, and it's like, who's gonna win? And that one, it was just like, oh man, I don't know, girl. I think you should maybe step down this time. I was like, you're a little rusty. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean, but you might want to run.
Yeah. I was a little surprised at first by Sabine's performance. I mean, granted, I think, she did mention that she hasn't fought in a while or trained in a while, but just knowing that and obviously I wasn't surprised that she wasn't, as skilled with the lightsaber as Shin was, but I was a little surprised that it seemed like she was really struggling at, so much because she is a Mandalorian, which is their whole culture is being warriors, and she has fought, so much. So but it was just interesting to see that, because I remember so many moments in Rebels too where she has so many badass moments. So it was like, but she clearly hasn't been fighting for a long time. But it was still, I thought it was cool to watch. I love getting to see Shin more. So
yeah.
And we see that it doesn't end well for her, where she gets stabbed by Shin with her lightsaber, and then that's how the episode ends. And it was interesting. It was like, well, that's. I was like, well, they're gonna kill her. That's interesting. But I was like, well, because aren't usually lightsaber stab wounds fatal? Then I remembered little Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it was not. It was not, and we got that really terrible last episode where she just, went back and stalked Luke Skywalker as a baby boy.
And in that same season, the Grand Inquisitor also got stabbed through and survived. So I will say I loved everything about Ahsoka, but I will say there was one moment I was like, can people please stop getting stabbed like straight through like that? Like I'm honestly getting tired of seeing people come back from that. Like there are other ways to injure her and then have Shin run off. Like she didn't have to get stabbed straight through the abdomen. Like, and then in like 2 days the wound is completely healed. Like it's just, man, the Qui-Gon, like what? Darth Maul gets cut. Yeah, Darth Maul gets cut in half, comes back. Like like you had to kill Qui-Gon that way. Like, God, everybody gets to come back except Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I know, poor thing.
Yeah, no, I feel like, yeah, I mean, once you've set the benchmark of Darth Maul comes back after being sliced in half, it is tough to feel like any kind of lightsaber wounds are fatal at this point.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say I could never say that I'm disappointed that we got more Darth Maul after that, but because I love Darth Maul, but that was wild. He got cut in half.
I will ask, did either of you for a moment think, holy cow, Dave Filoni is going to do it? He's going to kill Sabine Wren right now. Did either of you entertain that notion for a second? Or you're like, it's a cliffhanger. She's going to be fine in episode 2.
No.
I
was like, she's going to be fine.
I figured she would be fine, but I also thought that if she did die, I would have been so pissed if we only got one episode of her in live action. I would have been so angry. So
and once it's like, if anybody was going to kill her, then it should be Dave Filoni, since he created them. So it's like, all right, I can see if he wanted to, for whatever reason the story he wants to tell, if he did want to have her die, then it makes sense, as opposed to her being killed off in somebody else's project. So but also not surprised to see her still come around. No back to tank for her. They say that only for Boba Fett. He's got all the back to going on.
He's cornered the market on Bacta.
Yes.
But luckily it was just a flesh wound, and she's going to be fine.
Totally fine.
Yeah.
So this episode, though, is basically trying to figure out how we're going to, episode 2, our Toil and Trouble. It seems like the overall arc is how are we going to get Sabine and Ahsoka back together again. And we do that by splitting them up at the beginning of the episode. And this one's more of a two-hander between Hera and Ahsoka, where they're going to go to Corellia and try to figure out where Morgan Elsbeth's her shipping industry, which I will ask both of you. We've seen a little bit of this in Mandalorian season 3, but it does feel like they're really just setting up the New Republic as just a bunch of idiots.
Yes.
They're constantly being surprised. Or it's like, did anybody check to see if all that was taken down? Oh, well, no.
Just lack of communication and bureaucracy overload, and they're really hammering that home that this is not, the New Republic is not a perfect republic.
They're in way over their heads.
It needs to be that way, because we saw in the last trilogy, when we see the First Order coming back, so we know at some point things are going to switch around and they're going to start rising into power. So I guess the New Republic is almost just doomed to fail from the beginning.
Yeah, it's like they didn't do a good job of. Oh, sorry, Kim.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, they're kind of in a corner here where they have to set it up this way now, and it's like, but I do think they're doing the best they can, right? Like the fact that like all these people on the inside working in these facilities are still loyal to the Empire, like, and then like even when we got in Mandalorian, seeing like how they had this like they were assimilating people from the Empire that were loyal to the Empire into like the New Republic now, and having them do jobs and stuff like that, and seeing like how people are still working for the Empire kind of, but they clearly didn't do a good job of clearing out all these remnants that are floating around. But I think this is what they have to do now because what happened in the trilogy.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
I think even to a larger picture where it's not necessarily everyone's loyal to the Empire, but there are people that are for sure. But then I feel like there are other people like, and that seemed that may have been the case with the people working at the shipyard, was they're just greedy, and whoever's going to pay them more money, they're
Yeah.
just gonna. That's how you get their loyalty, so to speak. It's just, I'll be, if you're paycheck, if you're giving me more money, sure, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
To me.
Mhm.
yeah.
But we get to see Hera in live. We get to see more Hera in live action as opposed to just being in a hologram for a majority of the episodes. We get to see her doing her thing. So we've talked a little bit about seeing Sabine transferred over from Rebels to this. How did you feel, John, about transfer from Hera where she's at here in Ahsoka? A good arc from where we last saw her in Rebels.
Yeah, I love Hera Syndulla so much, and I think that the actor that's portraying her is great. It's Mary Elizabeth Winstead, I think is her name, who's married to Ewan McGregor, by the way, to Mr. Obi-Wan Kenobi himself. But I think she's doing a fantastic job as Hera. It feels like she did her homework too on sort of like the way Hera speaks and her mannerisms, things like that. So a really, really fantastic job, I think.
Yeah, she's definitely, she's taking over the role of space mom that Princess Leia had.
Yeah.
And very much in Rebels, she's everybody's mom, and she's continuing that now. And yeah, I really liked, it was pretty seamless, the change between animation and live action.
I think she'd still be wearing that same outfit though.
That's her look. That's her look,
Yeah, I mean,
it's her
like,
jam.
all right. I mean, now she's like, she went from rebel to being a general. You think like, hey, we gotta, it's the suck part when you get a little corporate, something, you can't just coast. You gotta like, oh, I gotta wear a suit and tie now. I gotta dress a little differently.
Well, that's just Hera. That's just Hera, though. She does her own thing.
Yeah.
I guess
she's got her World War II bomber jacket going on. I love her. She's great.
It's a great look, but also I was just looking at her going like, how is she a general? It doesn't track with the look of every other general that I've seen in Star Wars. And then there's just Hera. So I'm like, all right, okay.
I think too, like obviously you could see she's, using the general title a little bit, saying, I'm a general, nothing's classified to me. Like she knows what her status is, but I don't think that titles really all like mean all that much to her. Like she's really never changed from when they started off just in the Ghost, as that one little crew of rebels, all to now becoming a general, for the New Republic. Like I don't think she really cares all that much, like what title's in front of her name. Like she's just always going to be Hera.
And she's not coming alone because she's also bringing John's favorite, your boy Chopper.
Yes. Oh my God, I love Chopper so much. So much.
I just getting a little taste of him in Rebels. I'm intrigued by that dude, and the way that they use the arms coming out of his head is just another way to give him expressions. It's great.
You can literally hear the words that Chopper is saying in his little beeps and boops. Like there was a point where Hera was like, "No, Chopper, I did not go through your stuff." And if you listen to it, like what he said, like he totally, you can make out that he is actually saying, like, "Did you go through my stuff?" Like it's so funny. Like you know exactly what he's saying by his beeps. It's fantastic.
Yeah, he's like Kenny on South Park. You can understand him if you like really lean in.
Exactly.
It's like he's like, oh, I know what he just said.
Exactly. Oh God. And even like the banter is so good between them. Even the way Hera was like, all right, get a tracking device ready and don't miss this time. Like they are so good together. I love their relationship. So good.
Yeah.
Well, we also see that the reason that they were going there is they were Ahsoka is trying to track down Morgan. We also cut to the planet that she's on currently with Balin and Shin, and they give her the map and she activates it. We get to see the big star field, and we get a little kind of breakdown about exactly where Thrawn is, perhaps, and then maybe the space between spaces, and how we could possibly go about retrieving him. An interesting sequence. I'm kind of intrigued by Morgan. Kim, how did you feel about Morgan and her grand plan to reunite with Thrawn?
I'm glad to see her back because she was just in that one episode of The Mandalorian, and it was so good. She just really just brought the evil in just a 40-minute episode. And when they opened the prison doors, and it was her that they were getting out, I was like, oh, this is good. I was like, yay. I'm like, I'm so glad she's back. I'm like, 'cause she's just she
well, it's interesting because even in the first episode where Shin is talking with her and says, so you're a witch? And her response is, no, I'm a survivor.
Yeah.
I am curious to see what her deal is.
Well, it was very cool to learn that she is an ancestor of the Night Sisters. That was really amazing. Seeing that green flame. When she says, like, I'm a survivor, like, I do remember that big battle on Dathomir when General Grievous came in and they like wiped out the Night Sisters. And I'm wondering if she was there, at that battle, which also like is interesting to me, because if she wants to bring back, Thrawn and if she is loyal to the Empire, that's interesting to me, because it was really Palpatine who was behind sending, we had, Dooku was also looking for revenge, I think, on the Night Sisters, but it was really Palpatine that wanted to wipe out the Night Sisters. And that's why they sent Grievous there with the droid army and really did a lot of damage there. And so it's interesting to see an ancestor of the Night Sisters, like, be loyal to the Empire and be looking for Thrawn. That's kind of interesting to me. So
it is.
My only experience with Thrawn, it was through the Timothy Zahn novels. And the way it was kind of set up there was that Palpatine was kind of he did not care for aliens in that sense. He felt like it should just be, humanoids. It should be in command positions of anybody in the Empire. But he still respected what Thrawn was able to do. So he did have him like off to the side doing his own kind of thing. Is that similar how it's kind of represented in Rebels, where he was kind of somebody that was kind of looked down upon by Palpatine, but still given this power and authority?
I feel like he's portrayed as someone that they don't all get along with Thrawn, but they kind of like fear him because he's just such a presence and he's so intelligent. So like, it seems like people, they don't really, love him, but they just fear him. And he has, that's how he kind of has control over people and how he's looked at, I think.
Yeah, because it definitely feels like in this iteration, like Rebels and whatnot, that his presence is much more known, as opposed to in the Timothy Zahn novels, where it was more of a surprise. Like, holy cow, we didn't even know that this person even existed. And now we've seen him a bit in Rebels, and now the whole mystery is, where is he now and how do we get him back? At least for Morgan.
Yeah. I could see Morgan being someone that's like actually like thinks like Thrawn, like is really loyal to him. I could see that's why. Like I could see her being that type of person that's she is in total agreement with him and will follow him. That's what I'm getting, the vibe I'm getting from
her. So we see Baylan send Shin to go help out retrieve the last piece that they need over on Corellia. And so that's when they run into Ahsoka. And we have our third member of the party, who has a cool look, but does not say a word yet so far. Of our third member of Baylan's party, which I got his handsome name.
I think Marok or something.
Yeah. Marok, Inquisitor Marok. Paul Darnell playing the man. So who knows? I don't know what his story is. If he's going to be a nonverbal character, because he certainly doesn't say anything during his little interaction with Ahsoka in this episode. If he's going to be a silent but deadly kind of guy, or we're going to get more out of him in future episodes. Kim, do you want to see the man behind the mask, or are you fine with him just being a nameless kind of just sort of saber wielding guy?
I have no idea. I mean, I trust in the Filoni of it all. If he brings him out, then fine. if he doesn't, then there's a reason for it. We'll just kind of roll with it.
Maybe it's Darth Maul under there.
I've seen theories out there that
Oh, really? What's the
Marok,
theory?
yeah, that Marok, and the reason he's masked like this is Ezra, and wherever Thrawn and Ezra ended up, because we saw in Rebels at times, there were times that Ezra, he was using a Sith holocron. He was kind of dabbling in some dark side things. And wherever they ended up, if there was a way to send Ezra back or something, maybe people are thinking this could have been like a brainwashed, somehow influenced, by Thrawn to tap into the dark side. Because it's interesting too, like Ezra has a lot of run-ins with Inquisitors in the Rebels, with Kanan. And, as far as everybody knew, there were no more Inquisitors left. that was a long time ago, So it was like, it's interesting that this person that we can't see their face, is an Inquisitor. That's like a really kind of old idea. And like, I think it's very unlikely that that's actually the case, but I've seen that theory out there, and it would be interesting to see a hero like that, a Jedi that has somehow been turned to the dark side. And maybe it's going to take seeing his old friends like Sabine and Ahsoka and Hera to like bring him back to the light or something, like we were talking about sort of even, Baylan and Shin. Baylan was a Jedi. Now he's clearly on the dark side, and we've seen maybe potential conflict in them. Like, could we see that go the other way too? Like,
yeah.
But
yeah, it is interesting. I did like at the end of this fight between him and Ahsoka, where Merrick calls back his blade that he had thrown at Ahsoka from behind her, and she just kind of casually just kind of pivots to the side to let that blade just kind of just
I know,
slide
she was
right by her. Yep.
I was like, that's awesome.
But thankfully, though, Chopper was able to get that tracer onto the vessel, so they know exactly where it's going, and that piece of machinery is going to be used to fuel a big hyperspace gate, which is kind of cool. Seen that like the old, seen that from like the Clone Wars era, but just on such a huge scale was was cool to see.
It was massive, that thing.
Yeah.
That was cool though.
Yeah,
that was very cool.
But we end the episode as we had split Sabine and Ahsoka. We end it with Sabine deciding to like, hey, I got to get my act together as well. Get out my Mandalorian armor. Got to slice off my hair because it'll look weird sticking out of my helmet. And she's ready.
That moment actually when she cut her hair reminded me a lot. Also, Kim, if you remember the scene in season 4 when Kanan goes and kneels down and he puts his things out, takes the knife and cuts his hair, like that was very reminiscent of that moment from Rebels to me too.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a callback to that.
Yeah.
No, but it's
I thought of Mulan too.
Mulan, nice.
Mulan does that as well.
Yeah.
John, have you ever tried to cut your hair with a knife?
Thankfully no, because I probably would be dead. So I'd end up like cutting some artery or something, or so
yeah, that'd be my luck.
It's always one of those where it's like you see them always do the cut, and then the next thing you see them, their hair still looks great. It's a shorter cut, but it's like, no, I know me, I would have all this weird stuff happen in the back of my head. Let me have a bad hairdo. We're not gonna
when we saw her though with the short hair wearing her Mandalorian armor, I was like, this is unbelievable.
It's like, yes.
Yeah.
So we get the band back together. They are off and they're going to head to that planet to where Baylan, Shin, and Morgan are at. And that's where we kind of end, where we got a conversation between Morgan and Baylan, where interesting, the dynamic between Morgan and Baylan is interesting. Certainly it is I'm paying you for your services kind of deal. But the way they talk about like, hey, what are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Searching the Force to know that, Ahsoka is coming. While her location in the Force is kind of elusive, her determination isn't. And she is coming. And Morgan says, well, then we'll have to eliminate her. And that's when Baylan's like, I'd be ashamed to do because there's so few of us left. And it's like sentimental. It's like, no, it's truth. So it's very intriguing. I was really intrigued by Ray Stevenson in that scene.
Yeah.
I completely agree with everything you just said. Completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is 2 episodes out of the 6 that we still have coming for us. Kim, what is one hope that you have for this series that you'd like to see in the series?
Flashback with Hayden Christensen. I want a flashback training with Ahsoka and Hayden Christensen. I think that'd be awesome.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, I guess I assume they would de-age Rosario then for that a bit.
Yeah, that would be
Maybe.
interesting.
Yeah. There, her Leiku would have to be short.
Yeah,
super
that's
short.
true.
Super short.
True.
But yeah, you get Obi-Wan in there too and do a whole Clone War. Oh my God. I'd lose my mind.
Oh yeah.
I'd lose my mind.
The first 2 episodes were titled, blank and blank, so I'm wondering if that'll be just all the episodes are something and something. And I wonder if we could get an episode maybe that's titled like Anakin and Ahsoka or something. And that whole episode is flashbacks. And maybe then we come back to the present at some point. Like, it would be a really cool to kind of get like the same sort of thing we got in Obi-Wan, right? Where we got that flashback of Anakin and Obi-Wan training together at the temple, and it kind of cut in and out and weaved with the rest of the episode. Like, it would be great to get an episode where it's featuring, flashbacks on Anakin and Ahsoka, and then still dealing with whatever's going on with Ezra and Thrawn. I hope you're right, Kim, that we get a bunch of that.
That would be awesome.
So I know there's in one of the trailers, there's when Balin is talking about Anakin Skywalker, we see a shot of Hayden Christensen as Anakin. But was that pulled from Obi-Wan, or was that a new shot? And I
don't know.
Yeah, I wasn't sure on that. John, what is one thing that you are hoping to see?
I am hoping that we see Thrawn within the first 4 episodes of the season. It's an 8-episode season. Thrawn is such a great character, such a big character that I want to see him more than, and I love Mandalorian, but like Moff Gideon, such a great villain. What did we barely got him, in the season.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be a situation where we only get like a short little flash of Thrawn at like the end of episode 7, and then we get him, a bit in episode 8. Like, I want to see something from him in episode like 4. And then if he's gone for another episode, at least show up for the last 3, 6, 7, and 8 or something. Like, don't just have it be like he's there for an episode and then like 4 seconds of the previous episode. Like,
yeah.
Because I mean, we don't exactly know what the future of the Star Wars television / films are going to be. I know it's at a recent celebration, they announced 3 films that they wanted to do. One of those was going to be kind of like the Mandalorian universe kind of wrap up kind of film. So I don't know if they're like setting up Thrawn to be the big bad for that, where because I don't think I mean, he's such an awesome character. I'd hate to see his storyline end in Ahsoka. Would you, either of you, be interested in seeing him kind of set up as the big bad that kind of leads up to that film that wraps everything up?
That's what I'm hoping, and it could go slow. It could be, if we're not seeing, if in episode 4 we only get like a 3-minute thing from him, like, I'm fine with that, but like, bring him out early and bring it out often. You don't have to give us much at a time, but like, give us a little something. Don't make us wait to like the last episode of the season.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's that. I mean, you're kind of selling this Ahsoka series as on the like Thrawn's playing a huge part of it, and I'm hoping that it's not just the search for, and I actually want to see Thrawn actually doing something.
Yeah.
That's
mine.
For me, I'll be curious to see the arc of the season that is going to happen between Balin and Shin and Ahsoka and Sabine, because I definitely feel like we're setting up master and apprentice relationships. One seems really tight right now. Does that end up fracturing? While Ahsoka's and Sabine's is very fractured now, does that end up kind of coalescing and becoming strong by the end? So I'll be interested to see how the 2 arcs for those 2 relationships. Ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the end of our first episode of the Ahsoka After Show, but we'd be remiss if we didn't try to get a few words from our kind and benevolent leader, James Lott Jr.
Here he is.
Oh, just like we summoned Palpatine on a hologram, and he's come down And arrived.
Sorry, folks, my voice is cut out of it. You know, I don't have a high voice naturally. Frank, you're a crazy person. I just want to make sure I say that. This whole episode. No, I enjoyed listening to you guys. No, I loved it. I'm not dead inside, so I love the episode. I love the episodes. I don't have any complaints. It was great. No, I enjoyed it. I think it's head and shoulders better than some of the other recent series that have come out. I felt like even if you didn't watch Rebels, which thank God I did, if you didn't, you may now want to go back and watch it. Like they gave you enough in the beginning, kind of gave you a nice little intro. I didn't mind the crawl, Frank. I thought it was okay. Yeah,
it was budget, James.
Oh, it was a Dollar Tree. It was a Dollar Tree crawl. No, I get it. It was a Dollar Tree. It was a 99-cent store only crawl. I get it. I didn't mind it so much. I thought it was a cute touch. But I'm like with John when Rebels did the color change. I mean, there was all that. I like openings. I love the music. I love the actors. I think they did a great job. And just showing us I feel like more and more parts of the galaxy, the Star Wars universe is just being more explored. I'm excited for that. I feel like we're seeing other corners of the galaxy. We're seeing new places. I love the cinematography. I love the sets. I love that long run, that roadway. It was a road to nowhere, but I loved it. I'm like, no, Frank.
Yeah.
It goes on and on and on.
with nothing there.
There's nothing there. No, I agree with you. It was one.
Nothing there.
It was one way. It was kind of weird. It was like, okay, there's no other one next to it. But I kind of liked it though. I liked her little chopper thing she was when you push her feet down and it goes. I liked it. I felt like that it wasn't too preachy. It wasn't too anything. I just felt like it was just, here are the characters, here we go. And yes, Big Daddy Balin. I'm like, he's just the hottest thing since sliced bread. And also that commander too. I was like, what's going on with the big dark hair, like gray hair, gray bearded man? I'm all in. I'm like, I'm with you, Kim. I'm all in. I was like, I know he's a bad guy, but however.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I'm like.
Because Frank, trust and believe.
Yeah.
I be talking to Balin. Talking to him. But how sad Ray is passed. That's how sad that part. I love the beginning. He said, "This is for our friend Ray," and so they wrote the at the end. That was cool. Nice. But no, I like the characters. I said I'm glad I did watch Rebels, so I have a connection. So I know what you're saying, Frank, about that. I'm glad I did watch it. And Clone Wars, all things. So it's kind of nice. I want Anakin. I heard we're going to get him. I heard, right? Are we getting him at some point?
I do see him listed in the cast. He is listed.
Oh, okay.
So, I heard he's coming at some point, and I heard Mon Mothma is coming on too at some point. Same
correct.
Match.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm very excited. We love her. Very excited. For me, this is and the Thrawn books. And this Frank's gone. He's like, I'm out. Like Frank, I have the Thrawn series of books. That's how I knew of him first. Also, I love that. I love that trilogy. I think it was a trilogy. I think. I liked it, and so I'm with you guys. I don't want just at the very end. There he is. No, I hope, and then all of a sudden it ends. No, I hope there's something else going on there. So yes, did Frank actually leave, or did he like? Oh, he got pot. He got. Oh, he's back. I was like, did Frank really leave?
He got mad. He got mad that we were all liking it so much.
Yeah, he's like,
he's like, I'm out.
I can't relate to any of you.
No, but I agree with some of the things you guys were saying. I do agree with some. But I would love to see an Anakin thing too, because he's very important to this kind of story. Seeing the wall mural, that got me a little teary-eyed too. I was like, that's very, very sweet. But I just anything that expands the Star Wars universe, Kim and I are around the same age. I never thought that there was never any imagining that this was even possible. Star Trek was always on TV and movies. Star Wars wasn't. It was just film, event films, or the books, or the comics, or the graphic stuff. TV, streaming TV, whatever. I never in a million years thought I'd see this. And so for me, the 8-year-old James Lott Jr. who went to see Star Wars in the theater, the first one, has seen every film in the theater since. I'm giddy with excitement just because we're learning different parts of the universe. So that's
I mean, I feel like there's still a part of the fan base that, and just like maybe in the general public, that is like when they think Star Wars, they think the Skywalker saga. They think the 9 movies and that's it. It's like that's Star Wars. Anything else is just kind of like whatever, dude. So I feel like it's trying to let them know, like, no, there's stuff that is just as valid and just as good, just as important that is Star Wars that that is worth your time.
I would say give me a series. I'd totally like to write for a Star Wars series. I would love to.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I have a million story thoughts. Yeah. So I would love to do something with Star Wars. I wish Star Wars was public domain. I could just write something. But it's not.
Well, if you put like two R's at the end of each word, then you can write your own stuff, James. It's fine.
With 2 R's at the end.
Just stalk Dave Filoni until you become best friends, and then he'll hire you. You know.
Should. I should. Dave. Come on, Dave. I write audio dramas. I'm 17 out there. I can write. No, but I have all kinds of ideas. I was nervous because it's female driven, female led. I want to make sure because but so far everything I'm reading is just like everybody's like yes, this is a good omen of things to come. So
absolutely,
I'm very excited. And I believe there's a female director for the second episode. I believe.
Yes, Steph Green.
Yes, so that was very cool, and apparently Dave was very involved in this one. So. So I'm very excited. I'm very excited to see where this goes. That's all my voice can do right now.
I feel like if you're a Rebels fan, this is an easy win for you in terms of loving the series. But if you haven't watched Rebels yet, then like for me, it's like maybe like a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
But like after watching Rebels, then I could see it being like an 8 or a 9 once I get a little bit more invested.
That's not bad. That's not bad. I think it's not bad.
Right. Obviously, I don't want to refer to it this way because it's disrespectful to Ahsoka. The show is called Ahsoka, but there are a lot of ways in which this is like season 5 of Rebels.
Basically,
just going from animation to live action.
Everybody's saying that, John. They're all saying that.
Disrespectful, John. That is so disrespectful.
Well, because it's Ahsoka's show, it's not Rebels season 5. But
so rude. I just want to tell you also that we just were voted for our other after show, The Mandalorian, one of the top 10 Mandalorian podcasts by feedspot.com. So I think feedspot.com, I got the notice today, just now. Thank you very much for voting us one of the top 10, and we're listed in. We're number 6.
Wow.
Cool.
Yeah. So
how about that? That's awesome.
Check out that podcast.
You're on notice. The 5 ahead of us. We're coming for you.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for that. So, Frank, take it away. My voice, that's it.
Oh, well, as we listen to the dulcet tones of James Lott Jr. sharing his thoughts. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for joining us for our first of several Ahsoka after shows here. We're going to be covering the whole series right here on JLJ Media. And as always, thanks for joining in the chat. We appreciate that. But you can watch this anytime you want on YouTube or listen to the audio at your leisure later. If you want to come back and ruminate upon John's thoughts or Kim's thoughts, you can fast forward to my thoughts. I don't have many great thoughts. So, but if you want to, carry the conversation on with any of us, even after the show is over, Kim, where can they find you?
Oh, they can find me at inplainsight.style everywhere on all platforms.
Love it. John?
TikTok, Instagram, everything.
Excellent. You can find me at jdun89 on all my socials. If you're into reality TV at all, I do another podcast with some friends of mine at Strat Chat Pod.
Strat Chat.
Strat Chat.
Do tell. Hmm.
Talking Big
I-
Brother, Challenge USA. Hell yeah. Claim to fame.
Claim to fame. I love that. Shit.
And James Lott Jr., you can find him where all James Lott Jr.'s are sold. James Lott
James Lott Jr. And the person who let me have that, she just had a birthday recently. That's Alexis Torres, 890. She just had a birthday, and an anniversary, wedding anniversary. So,
yeah, for me, find me on Twitter and Instagram at Happy Go Jackie, or don't. I'm not going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. But thanks for joining us, folks. We'll see you here next Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Pacific time, for an all-new episode of the Ahsoka After Show, right here